Hello and welcome to the 14th, edition of the Metagame Masters here from Berlin. I'm Toffel, as usual. Also, as usual, I don't have anybody you know. We have a new face again. Hello, Nils.
Hi, I'm Nils, part of the Berlin Highlander community for a couple years now. Pleased to be here and commentate this awesome match with Toffel.
Yeah, also a regular in the top 8 here in the tournaments. And we see this time only the finals, exactly right into the action. We see Max on the right side playing somewhat Grixis control-ish version. And maybe you can say what it exactly is?
Yeah, it's a very, very low to the ground Grixis tempo deck inspired by Legacy's Grixis Delver lists. Very low mana curve, very efficient creatures. Land destruction package with fulminator mages and sinkholes. It's basically the most efficient cards you can play in Grixis. That's like his thing for a couple of years now, and he tunes the list very well, I think.
Awesome. And on the left side, we see Powell. Powell, known for playing artifact decks around Academy, around infinite combos, around draw sevens, and this time we see his version of kind of the big artifacts deck, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It has to become a mainstay of the Highlander metagame. I think it's basically the centerpiece of the deck is Tolarian Academy with some infinite combos around the monolith, Grim Monolith and Basalt Monolith with power artifact. It's one of the most degenerate decks in the format, I think, and we will see a very, very interesting and potentially fast combo deck.
So if you go exactly from this matchup, you have the combo deck, which has very powerful spells, and then the very cheap aggro control deck. One would assume the aggro control deck is kind of in the advantage.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if I would want to play a tempo control deck against Academy, it would probably be Grixis because you have a lot of good interaction with the discard spells and obviously with counter spells permission. But also, that's a problem, playing against Academy, you still have a lot of dead cards in the matchup. I mean, if you draw Fatal Push, you're basically mulliganed already. But definitely Grixis is, in my opinion, the best fair blue deck against combo. So, yeah, I would be happy playing this matchup, I think.
So here we see one of the advantages of playing Highlander. Max took a mulligan. As you can see, he already has 7 cards again. That is because you have 1 free mulligan, which you normally don't have. That means the first time you mulligan, you just go back to 7 and draw 7 again, which is, of course, luxury if you remember from other Magic games where you just don't have that. And here we see a Duress, a Liliana of the Last Hope, and a Mental Misstep, which is fairly decent interaction, but also has few lands.
Yeah, the hand has a lot of lands, and Liliana is not a great card in this matchup, obviously. The take-up does not a lot. So minus can potentially do something, but isn't great either with no creature like a Fulminator Mage in the hand. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with the mulliganing here. You have like basically one action card with the rest, and Misstep is not necessarily doing anything here. So yeah, I think it's a clear mulligan.
So is the goal from Max to look for a few cards that are very good, like counter spells, or more like a decent fast opening hand?
You need a fast clock. The thing about Academy is if you have disruption, it's great, but you need a clock to accompany this disruption. If you just disrupt him, Academy has a lot of ways to recur their stuff with Codex Shredder, Crucible of Worlds, stuff like that. So with the time, they're going to find their pieces. So you need both, basically. You need a fast clock and the disruption. I mean, obviously the card is looking for Stack Fade. That's the best threat you have in Grixis against this deck. But he would like some early drop, like a Delver or some Sword Scour into Tazigor plus some counter spells like that. A mix of certain things. And I think that's basically what he is looking for here. Would love to open on a Delver or a Deathrite Shaman. Like Sing in the Ice is a very fast clock potentially. His hand is obviously awkward as well with a mountain as his only land. I'm not sure. I think you have to mulligan this as well.
So we have 1 mountain and 5 spells, at least with 1 not doing anything. Arc Trail is the biggest blank ever. There's no insurance for the mana spells. So it's rough.
It's a rough end. I mean, I think it's gonna ship it here.
He could technically hope and say like his Scry can bring a mana source that he needs, but I guess like if you exactly find Underground Sea or any blue-black duel, then playing Thing and then the disruption spell could actually work well.
Yeah, agreed.
But I mean, you play 93 other cards, so maybe 6 of them make blue and black mana. No, maybe more with fetch lands, so let's say 12. That's not that likely.
Yeah, the thing is with Arc Trail already being a dead card, he's already on 5. So maybe looking for a better 5 that is very safe to cast the spells is a better option. I mean, he's already is on 5 cards essentially with Arc Trail in hand, so I agree with mulliganing here. If he gets a blue fetch land, it's obviously a good hand, or some blue fetch land or the UC/Watery Grave, but yeah, so I don't know. The mountain is obviously the worst land in the Grixis deck. Power Sand is obviously great. We haven't talked about that yet. He has one of his mana accelerators and probably one of the best cards in his deck with Time Twister.
That's good.
That's a good 5, yes. But that's what I was talking about. He has only the disruption, no clock. We will see how that pans out. A lot of disruptions, though, to be fair.
So when you look at Powell's hand, what is his game plan? There we see 2 tutor spells, and if you are familiar with artifact stacks, they have a lot of cards that look for other cards. So you have so many possibilities to unfold your game plan, which might be different, of course, in any given situation. But when you look at your start hand, you kind of have a rough idea.
Yeah, I think his Transmute Artifact is going to search for some big mana like Grim Monolith, because he has basically a lot of action hand with Time Twister, so he just wants to generate a lot of mana really fast.
Is your number 1 priority to get Academy, or is there a different way to do anything?
I think it's fair to say it's the number 1 priority. You can win without it. I mean, there are some quote-unquote fair ways to win, like with a Sword of the Meek, Top of Foundry combo.
The fair way.
It's not really fair, but I mean it's more fair than like an infinite mana combo, I guess. But so we see the Thoughtseize, which is probably going to just take the Twister. Because
Transmute Artifact, even though it looks for something very specific, costs a lot of resources.
Yeah, it costs a lot of resources, and it's Time Twister is just giving the deck so much equity. The Academy deck. He takes a Transmute. No, he's rethinking it.
Well, Transmute has the potential to get Academy.
Transmute Artifact?
Yeah, if you get an Expedition map, I think.
That's true. But I mean, only mana with no business is not that scary.
That's true.
One of the ways the Academy deck can fizzle, and it happens quite often.
It's kind of awkward to take the Time Twister when you mulligan to 5, though.
Yeah. But I mean, the Academy deck is going to deploy its cards way, way faster than you.
That's
true.
It's
definitely the most scary card in the hand, I think. You will see a Gush drawn, which is a very interesting card, which kind of shows it's a very low to the ground deck.
It's also quite nice because it lets him cast Trim to Turk, also does land drops. So that's, I think, one of the better draws. Yeah, and he realizes here, Gush. Yeah,
he gets double back here.
Maybe he even draws a 1-drop that does something, Thought Scour, and
Curious Homunculus, one of the new
draft staples.
Highlander All-Stars, I would say. That's seen a lot of play lately. The blue, 1 and a blue 1/1, which can tap for colorless, if I remember correctly, which allows you to cast instants and sorceries. And if you have 3 instants and or sorceries in your graveyard, you can flip it and it gets to be a 3/4 prowess creature, which reduces the cost of your instants and sorcery spells by 1. It's a very strong card. Combos very nicely with Swordscour, obviously.
Because you put the cards in your graveyard already.
Exactly.
Right.
Swordscour fuels it by itself by being an instant.
And now we see Max actually develop very nicely, because now he has a sinkhole for Academy, which is great. Like, this is very important. There is the Homunculus, which kind of is a clock if it flips, right? So that's nice.
And it's gonna flip. We see already 3 instants there.
If this Hymn Tutor can pick the right spells here, Caracas and 4. Where's the Queen? Left, right? No.
We'll see what he hits here. Caracas,
so if he hits the Transmute artifact, there's actually no business whatsoever, right?
Exactly.
So, and this is Buried Ruins. All right, so there is still Transmute artifact, which is, of course, has very high potential with Gilded Lotus. Okay, we see in Misty Rainforest, not the business power ones.
No.
So at this point, you know you will have a lot of mana by the next turn. What is your Transmute artifact going to get you?
That's an interesting question. I mean, if you have mana and want business, I mean, Memory Jar is always a thing you can get.
Memory Jar, draw 7 for 1 turn, right?
Exactly, which you basically get to crack during your turn to draw 7 cards. But we will see. I mean, it would be pretty devastatingly bad for Paul, because he would get it stifled.
The memory. Oh, that is great. Yeah, because Memory Jar needs to activate.
Exactly, it's an activated ability. It's a 5-mana artifact you have to tap to set aside your hand and draw 7. Equally symmetrical effect for both players. But
so could we actually say at this point that Max is kind of ahead?
I think he's ahead right now, yeah. Because it's the only business card Powers is the Transmute artifact. I'm not sure what he will get here. Maybe he will get something we don't have in mind that's totally will blow the game wide open. But
yeah, I mean, that's one point of the artifact decks. Even if you play it yourself, you have to fiddle through all the possibilities, and the opponent much less knows what's going on.
Exactly, it's a very, very complicated and hard to play deck, and Paul is the expert in Berlin for this deck, so
he will know what to do. I really like the fetch land thing. If you're looking, like, you have a Transmute artifact, you have no idea what you get, which is usually my case. You can fetch and then look for your land.
It's a secret mode of the fetch, and also very useful for Scapeshift players. Do I have enough mountains left? Free Scapeshift.
Okay, so Paul is definitely pondering here whether to cast the Transmute artifact, and it's a kind of a weird card how that works. So you have to sacrifice an artifact, which will be the talisman. Then you can look for an artifact that would come into play if you pay the difference, right? So right now the difference is 2, because the talisman costs 2 and the Hedron Archive costs 4, which he needs to pay now. If he wouldn't, that thing wouldn't even come into play. And then go to the graveyard, I guess.
I'm not sure on the wording exactly, to be honest.
It's a very, like one of the
old card, old Legends goodies, I think.
Yeah.
So but yeah, we see he didn't have enough mana to get the jar. I think he would have gotten the jar if he had the 5 mana instead of the 4.
Ooh, now Inquisition gets Chain of Vapors, but Paul now has the Gilded Lotus ready and the possibility to sacrifice the archive for cards. So that was definitely a nice line. Getting mana and cards here.
Yeah, exactly.
But we know
business in both ways.
Drawing cards might be stifled. Stifle is such a great card. I mean, besides your fetch land is dead mode, which is usually fun when you're on the right side. Ooh, Faithless Looting. That's great.
Good draw, yeah. Because the Toxic is not doing anything. The Toxic Deluge is not doing anything right now.
You see Phyrexian Furnace, which is kind of a cycling effect with upside and some lands. So now, what is Paul looking for? We know Max is trying to deploy the 1/1, which didn't happen yet, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Why wouldn't he deploy that? I mean, keeping up Fire Ice doesn't seem that important to me. And he didn't upkeep it to deny power and mana. I'm not really sure. You can keep up Stifle with the Homunculus. I'm not really sure why he didn't deploy it here.
Yeah,
last turn.
Like if you want to cast Ice, which is happening all the time, you probably would have cast it in upkeep. So he kind of wants to display a counterspell because he knows Paul is very low on cards that do something, right? So he thinks if Paul only has one business spell and you keep up mana for counterspells, he might not cast it.
Yeah, but that is also not a winning line from Paul, I think. I mean, if he had something, would have cast it. I mean, he's not going to just sit there against the blue deck and let the blue pad develop a hand, I think. I mean, I don't think you gain that much equity by bluffing a counterspell because you just need to pressure your opponent, I think. So I think I would have played the Homunculus there last turn.
Phyrexian Oven, one of the few spells that actually needs the graveyard to be in the correct order.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat new, maybe, if you're starting Magic in the last 13 years or something. That you have to have a graveyard order because some cards actually care about it.
Phyrexian Furnace exactly removes the bottom card of the opponent's or of one player's graveyard.
Yeah, and for bottom you need to have, but you cannot shift it around. It's like, it's a land. Tainted Pact.
That's obviously business.
So I would assume if I see Tainted Pact, it can get everything, right? Like, you don't play more than one basic land.
Exactly, or if you play two basic lands, one should be snow covered.
Oh, great. So it doesn't have the same name.
Exactly, it doesn't have the same name. It doesn't fit the pact.
So we're at the point, again, where Paul has access to basically anything he wants, but still has to figure out what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful a little bit with the Academy deck and Tainted Pact. You don't want to go too hard. You don't want to basically remove a lot of your combo parts. That could potentially be something you need to look out for. But I mean, obviously a draw 7 would be kind of the nuts here because he has 8 mana on the board right now.
Now we see a very neat try from Max to tap the land in order to make Paul activate the Hedron Archive, but it unfortunately didn't work as planned because Paul drew the Tainted Pact. And here we go. Prismatic Lands were Thoughtcast, Surin Orb. So yeah, you don't know Frantic Sedge. What do you want? But you Rings of Brightheart. That's
one of the essential combo cards for the deck, but I mean it's not really doing a lot.
It could copy the Hedron Archive, so that's, and of course makes future draws much better. If you draw fetch lands, if you draw anything that draws cards, like Spellbomb, Demir Signet,
Defense Grid.
So Basalt will need only, like, mana is not what you want, right?
No, he has 8 mana on the board, he needs
so
some.
That would be Academy, but Dixer Time. All right, here we go. Dixer Time.
Pretty good card. That is gonna find probably
slightly better divination.
Slightly. Only slightly. Best divination ever printed, potentially.
So now Max kind of realizes, this is not ending well if I do nothing. So I would suspect something needs to be done.
Yeah, I think he has to finally deploy a threat, which, in my opinion, he should have done a long time ago. Could have hit in for like 8 damage by now.
A Delver that costs 2 mana? What is this? Yeah, what? What?
We got a reader here.
Okay, and the other side?
3/4 prowess.
Making your spells cost 1 less.
Your spells cost 1 less.
Is kind of good, right? Because, of course, you can cast Fire Ice for 1, but a lot of the spells do cost 1, so it's great. Or maybe even like Counterspell costs no colorless mana, so it is not as powerful as you might think, but still very good, of course, if it's flipped.
The 3/4 prowess body for 2 mana is just pretty huge, I think.
It's like a Reveler.
making your mana leaks cost 1 is pretty huge. I think most of the counter spells actually cost 1 blue in the deck, so
like mana
get
leak
some
and
equities there. Exactly, miscalculation is 1 mana leak. Negate, he doesn't play negate, but it's a commonly seen counter spell.
Ooh, and Paul drew also a demonic tutor, which again has the possibility to get everything. So now you kind of have 2 tutor effects, Dig Through Time being like a soft tutor, I guess. So you have to figure out what is the combo I'm going for, because the deck has quite a few combos. As you said, we have the Thopter, Foundry, and Sword of the Mi combo. We probably have some infinite shenanigans with Wings of
Basalt
Baitar.
Monolith, Power Artifact, Zuran Orb, Fastborn Crucible. But we have to remember Zuran Orb is already gone, Basalt Monolith is already gone, and I think another combo card I can't remember with the Tainted Pact is already gone.
So what is Retrofitter? That sounds like a commander card or something.
Retrofitter Foundry. Yeah, it's a very interesting card. It makes can't quite remember what it does, but it makes a servo for 1. You can tap this thing for 1, make a servo, and then you can basically go up the chain, and you can sack a servo to make a 2/2, and you can sack a 2/2 to make a 4/4. And with things like Voltaic Key and some untap effects, makes a huge white board really fast.
So it's kind of a Staff of Dominaria for creatures.
Basically, yeah.
Because it also untaps for 3, as I just read right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible card. I mean,
so what do you take? All of them are great.
Yeah, it's actually the interesting question. I think the Memory Jar is probably a given because it's just another 7 cards. I mean, maybe you can... Tezzeret plus Power Artifact is potentially also... He takes Tezzeret plus Staff of Domination. Interesting.
So that's
the Tezzeret is basically another tutor for his deck.
Or a lot of mana, right? Right now he would make 5 mana.
That's true.
So he says he just wants to go for the value approach. Or there could always be a combo we don't know of that is happening
Stuff
right now.
Domination just draws the whole deck if you have infinite mana, so that's... And also it's a slow grind, can potentially grind.
yes.
Yeah, here's Academy,
Yeah, so Staff of Domination and Academy is just a lot of value, right? That's what we're going for.
It's just lots of cards in a very short span of time here.
Yeah, so at this point, I think Paul
Academy
is...
for 3.
Doing a lot of stuff that Max can't quite keep up with, because now, as we see, we know that Sinkhole will head Academy, and that was certainly going to work.
Gets to stifle the Tezzeret, so that's pretty huge here.
Oh, and it also dies.
Gets to flip his creature next turn, gets to kill the Tezzeret, so the stifle was actually huge here.
All right. So we're back in it. All right. So Sinkhole will take care of the Academy. The Tezzeret go down to the whatever it is ever called. I don't know. And the board kind of looks now in Max's favor, of course. But as we know, Paul has the Staff of Domination, and that's going to draw a lot of cards before it becomes threatening.
And can also just tap down the creature, so he's not under a lot of pressure right now. The Staff is very multi-purpose card, can basically do everything.
It's very expensive, but if you have the resources for it, it's very important. And I think it kind of ramps up on mana costs, right? Like you have the untap for 1, and I think it makes 1 life for 2, and then untaps the creature for 3, taps for 4, and draws for 5.
Yeah. Sounds right to me.
If you want to draw a card, you have to pay 5. And if you want to draw 2 cards, you have to pay 11, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the Academy deck has a lot of impactful cards left. So drawing like 2 cards a turn right now is kind of scary if you're sitting on the other side. Still a lot of business left. And Candelabra and Ponder being drawn here. So we'll see.
So
Probably
now...
Ponder first.
Now Academy is in the graveyard. Is there any way to get it back?
Yeah, multiple actually. I mean, the obvious one is Crucible. Yawgmoth will. are the two obvious ones that come to my mind right now. So it's a misconception, actually. I think many people have, if you just have a way to kill Academy or Wasteland or stuff like that, you're ahead. But given enough time, the Academy deck will always assemble its pieces. And that's actually the very, very, that's why it's very hard to play against the deck. Because they have a lot of ways to recur their combo pieces, the Academy. And given enough time, he will probably get it back. Has a lot of tutors for artifacts, can basically get probably still 10 ways left in the deck to get Crucible.
Yeah, here we, for example, see
back.
Personal Tutor, which might get to the Yagmoth's you said, and then could get back the Academy. But Paul decides for Scrabbling Claws, which is somewhat the same as Phyrexian Oven, just a bit better with Graveyard Wise. Here, Personal Tutor. All right. So now we see what's Paul's plan, because this one is going to resolve, and
I think it's going to be Yagmoth's Will pretty obviously, but
they're
I
actually
might be wrong.
Even
No,
there are even more cards in the graveyard, so it's not only the Academy.
Exactly. He gets a ton of mana with the Academy, with this land drop he gets to make, and has a lot of business. He has a Tainted Pact there, for example. He has a Demonic, so if he gets to resolve this Yagmoth's Will next turn, the game's just over. He can play Demonic, Tainted Pact. He has an insane amount of business and a lot of mana.
So I have a question. Paul decided to keep the clause just instead of just drawing the tutor, which means that he wants it. Is there a card that he's afraid of in the graveyard, or is it just...
I think it's just a free roll. I mean, it is +1 mana with Academy next turn. I don't think he... Maybe... Can't really see. Maybe he's afraid of Snapcaster. I mean, it insulates you against Snapcaster Mage, for example, so it's...
okay, that's good. That's good. It was just, as you said, it's free, so why not do it? And he thought, okay, that's great. So now, well, Yagmoth's Will is usually a card that gets your win rate a lot up if you cast it. So
yeah, exactly. If you in the right deck at least, and the Academy deck is definitely probably the deck that can, besides Storm, probably the deck that can abuse it the most.
So we're now in the
make 8 mana now with Academy.
Yeah, in the state is like we know we won. The question is now, how do we win?
I mean, Max is just showing him his
you see like this hand gestures, like you know you're dead, so why don't you just go ahead and concede? So
I think he's in the motion of conceding right now, and that's also what I meant at the beginning. Though he has a Terminate in hand, which does like absolutely nothing against his deck.
Yeah,
and he just concedes because he knows he's dead. I mean, there's multiple tutors in the graveyard, and he knows the deck well enough to know when he's dead, I think. Yeah, that's basically played out a little bit like I said. He had a very disruptive hand. If you remember, he opened Thoughtseize into Gush into him, into Sinkhole for the Academy, so a lot of disruption, but did not get the pressure down. Could have gotten the pressure down a little bit earlier, did not, and just, given the time, Academy will combo you out, and that's exactly what happened here.